Finding a bass DI is a tough decision nowadays because there are so many incredible DIs with a ton of features, a ton of different things that you can do with them. But the issue that I've learned is that you gotta find one that fits the sound that you're going for. Honestly, there is so many great ones out there. It can be very, very tough to even choose and know what they truly sound like. So today what I wanted to do is do a shootout with a few of these popular pedals that have come out in the past couple of years so we can identify what they truly sound like and if they're the right bass DI for you. Now, before we get started, if you're interested in supporting this channel, feel free to check out my website, travisdykesmusic.com, to where if you make a purchase of anything on the site, it helps support this channel to bring you more videos. Now, just so we're all on the same page, a bass DI is pretty much where you take a 1/4 inch signal, which is coming from your bass, and make it turn to an XLR connection that goes to your sound console. And the reason why this is so important is because this is the most optimal way of getting your signal from your bass to any sound console. So as we go through this, my qualification for a true bass DI is when you convert it from 1/4 inch to XLR, which all of these pedals do. So the way this video is gonna go is I'm gonna do kind of a review of all these pedals and all the features they have and all the different things that they do. And then I'm gonna do an audio test towards the end of what these sound like next to each other. Now, the first pedal we're gonna be talking about is the ZIO Bass DI from Source Audio. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this pedal surprised the mess out of me because it's actually not that expensive of a pedal and it packs a lot of features and a lot of great tone. Now, the build quality of the ZIO is really dope. It's got a metal encasing and the knobs are metal and they're not like too loose. The switches are really strong. It really feels like a high quality pedal even though it's not a crazy high price. Like most DI pedals, it has an EQ. And so it's got bass and treble, which is just a 2-band EQ with an output knob to push your volume overall. Now, something you don't really see on a lot of pedals at this price point are these two switches right here, which is the scoop and the grit switch. And basically what these do, the scoop switch is mimicking a pull tech trick, which is what audio engineers used to do for decades to get clarity out of bass signals. And so what happens is that when you flip this switch, it adds a bit of clarity to your bass signal. Now, with this grit switch, what it does is add some overdrive or a little bit of distortion. It's not really distortion, but really overdrive. And it's a natural overdrive is what they're, going for with this, to where it's not like a distortion. It really just adds a little bit of grit to your tone. I really, really like this grit switch because it adds a really nice touch if you are not super into distortion like me and you just want a little bit of overdrive to give it some clarity and help push through the mix. Now, the last control on the front of this is this focus knob. And pretty much what this focus knob is supposed to do is be a high pass filter to add character to your bass depending on what style or what you're trying to dial in. Now, I've never really seen something like this on a bass DI pedal at this price point, but after playing through it, it actually sounds really, really cool. So now with this pedal, you've got a 1/4 inch input, and then you also have a 1/4 inch output and an XLR output if you want to go direct out into your sound system. Now, the last few things that this pedal has is a ground lift for, if you have any buzz or power problems, a headphone out, so if you want to hook up some headphones and hear your bass, and also a gain knob that is pretty much where you stick a screwdriver in there and turn it up and down if you want to gain up your pedal if it's not loud enough. Now, I do kind of, to be completely honest, I don't know why they made this a screw, but I think it's probably protecting so you don't accidentally put too much gain, or if you're traveling or something like that, you don't, that gain knob doesn't change all the time. So that could be what it's for, but yeah, the screw, that's kind of unfortunate that it's a screw thing because you always have to have a screwdriver for it. But honestly, that's not that huge of a deal in my opinion. Now, the next pedal I want to look at is the Bass Rig 64 Black Panel by Origin Effects. Now, this is one that I've seen so many people talking about, so many people have on the pedal boards and different things like that, so I was really interested in checking it out. Now, this pedal is all analog and mimics a lot of vintage bass amps, which I thought is a really, really cool touch. Specifically, this pedal was created to mimic a Fender Bassman and Fender Showman amps from like way back in the day, because that was like a really dope tone that people really wanted. And so they were able to create and make this pedal sound very, very close to what those amps sounded like. Now, the build quality of this pedal is, it's metal. It's actually a bit quite heavy. It's got metal knobs and they're really smooth and very nice. One big thing that is really cool about this is that it gives you a lot of options for your cabinet. What's really cool is they have this DI cab sim, which basically is your bass cabinet simulator, and you can have it on when it's on effects. What it pretty much is like when it's on all the time, even if you cut it off, it's still on. But if you put that switch down and it says effects bypass, basically it will only come on when you click on the switch, and when you turn it off, it'll go off. But if you don't do that, it's on the entire time. Now, for these amp simulators, it has a 2-band EQ, low frequency and high frequency knobs, and also a horn cut where you can kind of change the sound of your horn as well to get some clarity and some boost. It also has a ground lift right here as well at the bottom. Then it has these two switches right here, which this one is basically tweed and black. And basically what it's supposed to be doing is going between a tweed style amp and also a black style amp, which one has got more clarity and the other is a little bit darker. And then it has a 3-way switch right here where it has a kind of like probably a mix between like bright and fat, where it's just kind of like right there in the middle. And then you could go all the way bright if you want a more brighter tone, or you could go all the way to the bottom to get more of a fatter tone. And now the last knobs up at the top is you have a drive, which just kind of gives you, drive essentially. And it's more of a vintage drive than it is like a really crazy heavy distortion, which is really nice, but you can really, really add some grit with it. Then also you have this blend knob to where you can blend that distortion in with your clean signal, so you don't have just like this crazy distorted signal. And the last knob up here is your output, where you can control how loud it is. Now on the front side is where you have all of your outputs and inputs. You got your 1/4-inch input, 1/4-inch output, and your XLR output to go into your console. And then also your power for a 9-volt DC power supply. Now before we continue on with this video, there's something that I've noticed over the past like 3 months or so, and that's that 82% of you guys who watch this channel are not subscribed. And honestly, if you like my content and you like the videos that I'm posting, I would just ask if you could consider it. And I would make this promise to you if you subscribe, that I will post better and better videos each time. If it's a lesson, if it's insight, if it's any vlogs, just let me know in the comments. I read all of them, and I will make that promise to you if you subscribe. So now let's take a look at the Revolt amp simulator by 2 Notes. Now the build quality of this pedal is really nice. It's not too heavy, even though it looks a little bit bigger than a lot of pedals you probably see. It really doesn't feel crazy heavy, but it's got a metal encasing and it feels quality. It feels like a solid pedal. It doesn't feel like, something super cheap. But also when it comes to the look too, it's really cool because it has a tube in here that it's using to get a really nice tube warm tone. And so it shows the tube when you turn it on, and it lights up that tube so you can really see it. And that's just really a nice touch. Now this pedal has 3 main settings, which is the classic clean setting, the vintage dirt setting, and the modern drive. Pretty much the classic clean is exactly what it is. It's just a clean setting with the tube warmth, on there, which has a 2-band EQ, which is a bass and treble, and then it has a gain and volume knob. Now in the vintage dirt, there's a little bit more settings on here. You have a 3-band EQ, and you also have a gain and volume knob for the dirt. Now, the modern drive is your actual distortion. This is really a really high, gain distortion. It has a gain and volume knob, but what's different about it is that it has a dry and wet knob to kind of help you blend that distortion with your clean signal. Now, one thing that's interesting about this pedal is that when you click on any of these, foot switches, it just goes to that setting, and if you hit it a second time, it doesn't turn it off. But they found a way to do that by you just press these two foot switches together and it just completely clears it to where none of them are selected if you want it. Now, what's unique about this pedal is that it has a lot of features and a lot of unique features that you don't necessarily always see for these type of pedals. We have a 4-cable method switch, which if you're using a 4-cable method to get your tone or to use the effects in, it has all the abilities to be able to do that. Then it also has a cab sim that you can cut on and off. It has an aux input, so if you have like audio from your phone or anything like that you want to put in here, and also put in your headphones, you can plug in your phone, get music through here, and also be able to hear your bass at the same time. Now on the back of this, you have your 1/4-inch input and then your send and return, so if you want to do the 4-cable method, and then also a 1/4-inch output. You also have a MIDI in and a MIDI out, which is not something you normally see on bass DIs, which is a really cool option. You have a ground lift switch, and you have a balanced XLR out, and a 12-volt DC 600 milliamp power. And so this pedal packs a lot of features in a small package, but it really just depends on if you need all of these features if you want to spend the money for it. Now, the last DI I want to go over is the Ampeg SGT-di. Now, I will say, after looking through this packs a lot of features in one pedal. I'm not even gonna lie. And honestly, this pedal, if you're an Ampeg fan, this is like the Ampeg dream. So the build quality on this one is nice. It's metal. It's not too heavy. It's got a metal encasing. The knobs are plastic, but they don't feel like cheap. Now, the first thing I want to talk about with this is that it has impulse responses built into this pedal, which is really, really dope. And pretty much what it is that it has these 3 cabinets here, which the first one is a Heritage B115. You go to the middle one, to B, it's supposed to be mimicking a Heritage SVT 410 cabinet. And then when you're going to the last one, it's supposed to be mimicking an SVT 810 square back cabinet. Now, it really does, like when you switch between these, it really does sound like a cabinet. And the thing is that I don't think everybody, especially like if you're playing gospel music, the reason why I've heard, issues from this, I think it's because this setting can sometimes seem really boomy and boxy, and it may not be as clean as you would like it, but it sounds like the amp. It sounds like you're playing through an amp. But if you like that kind of tone, then this is like a great way of getting that. Now, something that's really cool about these IRs or amp simulators is that there's a switch right here where you can use the cabs that they have on there and switch between them, or you can turn them off, which is honestly what I like to do, is just kind of have like a cleaner tone. And then you have a user switch at the bottom here where you can store up to 3 user IRs. So like if you have another pedal or another thing where you have some dope bass IRs or cabinet simulators, you can load them through this USB spot right here with from your computer to the pedal and not even use their cabinets at all on here. And so, which is really, really dope if you want, some more cabinets that are more of the tone that you're looking for. Now, looking at some other things on this pedal, you have an ultra low switch, which is, you see that on a lot of Ampeg amps where you can switch it and get a really ultra low sound. Then you also have a ultra high switch if you want to brighten up your tone if you have a really dark bass, which I see that used a lot of times with passive basses if you're trying to get an active tone out of it. Now, this last switch over here is the voice switch, and basically what it does is it allows for you to go through a couple of the popular Ampeg voices that like sounds and that you would hear from an Ampeg amp, like the SVT type of sound. You can switch to that if you want that type of voice, and then you can also switch down to the B15 type of sound. So if you're really into Ampeg, this is why this is like so cool, because you can really go through a lot of their sounds through just a pedal. Now, right here on your foot switches, you have your preamp and your SGT switch. Preamp just pretty much turns on the preamp, and like if you want to turn on the cab, you can turn on the cab on top of that if you want to. But pretty much it just hits all these different, you know, controls for the pedal. Now, when you go to the SGT, all SGT stands for is Super Grit Technology. And basically what that means is that it has this grit knob right here. And what this grit knob does, it gives you a certain amount of like grit, not necessarily like crazy distortion, but just like grit, just to add a little bit of texture to it. And then from there, you've got 3-band EQ, pretty awesome, with a mid-range selector where you can select, you know, what part of your mid-range frequency you want, which is really nice to have. And then you also have a volume and 1-knob compressor as well. Like, this thing has a lot of stuff in it, guys. I was really shocked. I was like, oh my gosh, it really has a lot. And so even if you don't necessarily love the tone out of the stock stuff that comes on here, you got those IRs you can load in. And then honestly, the best tone that I like out of this particular pedal is when you have the preamp on and like nothing else is on. I like, it has like a pretty clean preamp sound. And so I'll let you hear it in a second, but that is probably one of my favorite settings on here if you're wanting that real nice active kind of gospel type of sound. Now at the front of this or the back of this, you have a 1/4-inch input for your bass. And then you have a through if you want to go into an actual cabinet, and then also has a preamp out if you just want the preamp out, like without, you know, anything else. And then it has a line out if you want to go 1/4-inch out, or if you want to just use it for your headphones as well. And it has a 9-volt DC 500 milliamp power source as well. So on this last side of this pedal, you have this aux level input knob. So if you hook up an 1/8-inch input, stereo input, or just a mono 1/4-inch input, you can turn up the level to it up and down, which you don't normally see on pedals like this. So that's a really nice touch to it as well. So now the part of the video you guys have probably been waiting for, the audio test. What I'm gonna do, and the way I'm gonna do this, is I'm gonna play fingerstyle on all these at a clean setting, and then I'm gonna do one where you have the dirtier, grittier sound, like with the distortions that all of these have, so you can hear the distortion sound. And then I'm gonna also do one where I have a little bit of a slap vibe when I'm playing, so you can hear how it reacts to slap. Now the last test is gonna be where I play my passive bass through it, so you can kind of hear what a passive bass sounds like through each of these pedals. Now, I hope this video has helped you And honestly, I hope it showed you the true tones of some of these bass DIs. Now, if there's a bass DI that I missed or some bass DIs that you want to see me do a video on, please let me know in the comments below. And also, if you want to support this channel, feel free to check out any of my affiliate links that are linked in the description below, to where if you make a purchase through any of those links, this channel gets a kickback to bring you more videos. Also, don't forget to check out my website, travisdykesmusic.com. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.